Hello, this is Dr. Fitzgerald, and in this video, we want to discuss simplifying radicals, and in this case, a combination of radicals with numbers and variables. So let's get started. Our first example we will look at is the square root of 75x cubed, and we're asked to simplify. We're asked to simplify this. Yes, we want to simplify the square root of 75x cubed. So once again, we ask ourselves, is 75 a perfect square? And why am I asking square? Because our index recall, if there's nothing shown there, that there's an invisible or hidden 2. So this really means the square root. So is 75 a perfect square? And the answer to that question is no. But can we break this example up into two problems in which one is a perfect square and then we have a leftover part? So how can I do that? Let's see. 75 can be broken down as 25 times 3. That gives me 75. And then for those of you guys, let's look at breaking up. Well, x cubed, of course, isn't a perfect square, it's a cube. But can we break this guy down? And we know from previous examples that I could break this up as x squared times x. That gives me my x cubed. So let's look at how we continue to break this down. And I actually want to go ahead and separate this example. And I want to separate it into, once again, my perfect square part and then my leftover. So let's go through and pick all the pieces that are perfect squares. Let's see, 25 is a perfect square and x squared is a perfect square. So I want to put these two pieces together. So over here, I want the square root of 25x squared because that's my perfect square part. And then times, what's the leftover part? So notice everything that's left over, we have a 3 and an x. So that's my leftover part. So that's going to go over here. So once again, this is the leftover. And then over here, the first part, my 25x squared, this guy is my perfect square. That's my perfect square part. So how do we simplify that? Well, that's easy. My perfect square part, we just go ahead and now take the square root of that. So the square root of 25 is simply 5, and the square root of x squared is simply x. And then what's our leftover? Just now, our leftover part, we just rewrite that guy. So what's left over is the square root of 3x. And that's our final answer. 5x square roots of 3x. Let's look at one other example with a cube root. Let's look at an example with the cube root. So if we want to look at the cube root of 32a to the 4th power. Cube root of 32 to the a to the 4th power. So once again, we want to break this guy up, and I want to break it up. My 32, it's going to be broken up as 8 times 4, because 8 times 4 is 32. And these are the factors that I want because 8 is a perfect cube. In this case, recall we're doing cube roots and not square roots because of our index right there. And then I have 8 to the 4th power. And recall, we ask ourselves, is this 4 divisible by 3? And the answer is no. When the answer is no, then I drop down a number. And then, so I ask myself, the next number down is 3. So I would write a to the 3rd. Why do I want a to the 3rd? Because 3 is divisible by 3. But yet, this is not quite a to the 4th yet, so I need another a. So here, underneath, my 8 times 4, that's my 32. My a cubed times a, that's my a to the 4th. Now we want to go ahead and break this guy up once again. And let's look at that. When I go ahead and break that up, into my perfect cube in this case. Recall I want perfect cube. So the perfect cube, let's see if you can guess the perfect cube part. And if you said 8, that's correct because that's the perfect cube and a cubed. So I want to write 8a cubed because that's my perfect cube. And then what's left over? So times the leftover parts are 4 and a. You can see that 4 and a are left over in that case. So this is my leftover and this is my perfect cube. And I'll go ahead and write cubed in this case because that's a perfect cube. So now I take the cube root of my perfect cube. The cube root of 8, what is that, guys? That is simply 2. So we get 2. And then the cube root of a cubed, that's going to leave us with an a. And then we're just going to bring down the leftover part. Notice that's all we're doing. That's why I like writing that part off to the side. The final answer is just going to be that part written down. Just bring it down. So the cube root of 4a, and I forgot my cube root there in that particular example. So that is my final answer. We have 2a times the cube root of 4a. That is my final answer. Thank you.